it was just a huge thrill to win my third cup in 3 different decades. And it's not just racing, it's probably like a lot of sports. You tend to lose more than you win. So you've got to be pretty resilient. You'd have to be really fit. You've got to be pretty light. So you've got to be strict with your diet. A friend rang me and said, you better get over your brother's had a bad fall. Having to turn off your life support for your brother is probably one of the worst things you could do. If I'd have been sitting at home on that couch watching that Melbourne Cup, he would have been saying, "You bloody idiot, what are you doing?" You know, it's a huge sigh of relief when I crossed the line, and didn't realise at the time how big a moment it was. It's a wonderful tribute to my brother, who was a massive influence on my career.
All right, Dos, the word GOAT gets thrown around a lot in sport these days, and far too loosely, but I think we are sitting across from the greatest to do it, Mr. Damien Oliver. Welcome to the dos&d show.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's pumped to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Mate, you've done a few pods, not too many, but we feel honoured that you're coming in the studio because you don't do a lot of them. So how are you feeling in the comfy seat? You know, you got in there nice and easy. I'm
pretty relaxed so far.
Good.
I'm not sure where this is going to go, but time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, we'll cover plenty of your career shortly, but I actually do want to start with the Eagles. We're just chatting off air about your beloved Eagles. Are you still the #1 ticket holder for the East? How does it work?
Not really. It's look, I have been at different times, but still a big supporter. Go when I can. We get the Sunday graveyard shift now, being down the bottom. It tends to clash with my son's footy a lot, so I don't get to go as much as I'd like. But
and he's quite good, isn't he?
No, he's going okay. He's got a long way to go. But so yeah, look, I still support him. You know, we probably can't get much worse. We've got some good young kids who are on the improve. Just need to kick straight.
Yeah. Well, you've seen a few flags, a couple of flags. That's not bad. You know?
We can't complain. We've had some good victories and some good premierships, so much better than some of the teams out there.
Were you there for 2018?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, sitting just next to
in the
Eddie
rooms. Did
Maguire,
you get in the rooms after?
Next to Eddie, he said.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was
Jeez,
in the
that's
president's
probably
suite.
the best seat to be.
Yeah, the president's lunch. It was pretty cool, actually. And, managed to get down on the ground and in the rooms. And same for 2006 as well. I was at that one. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, the West Coast one's always classics, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, 05. Did you get to... Oh, well, that's
05, that's
a
not
shocker.
No, we won't cover 05.
No, sorry, I won't bring up 05. 06 was a ripper, and obviously 18.
But maybe talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now since retiring from the sport. Like I said, we're going to dive back into your career and some of your highlights over the journey, but interested to hear where you are today. Yeah,
so I do some work with my core stuff is with Ladbrokes and Entain. Do some media ambassador, a lot of their digital type work with them, and that's it's been pretty good. They're great to work with. Also do some work with Racing Victoria. Some media ambassador type work with them and mentoring some of the young apprentices as well, and a little bit of consulting and public speaking outside that as well.
Love it.
With the apprentices, what kind of mentorship does a younger apprentice get with a man like Damien Oliver, the GOAT, as you said?
I go into the apprentice school there and often just a bit on technique on the mechanical horse. We'll do some race tactics as well. All the things that, the disciplinary type of things that, a jockey needs sort of thing, some of the communication sort of skills as well. So, all that sort of part, and I'm happy to help them in any way they need.
I mean, for us, we're somewhat naive about racing or maybe the intricacies of it. So I'm interested to go back. I mean, you come from a racing family, and we'll touch on your dad and your brother a little bit later on. But
is it 3 generations?
Yeah, pretty much, as far as I know. My grandfather, father, and my brother,
That's pretty deep. Yeah.
So like a royalty in the sports. But does an apprenticeship actually entail? What do you do as an apprentice jockey?
It's pretty hard work for a pretty low wage when you start. Long hours, long days, and, when I started, it was 6 or 7 days a week. So you're pretty much up pretty early, at 3:30, 4 o'clock, mucking out the stables and then riding the horses, grooming the horses, caring for them. And then, that's probably from, say 4 till 9 or 10 in the morning. And then you usually have this is back in my day anyway, a few hours break. And then you go back sort of from 2 to 5 in the afternoon to, feed and walk them and groom them and look after them as well.
What time are you in bed of a night?
Those days pretty early, they're pretty long days. You might get a little kip during the day, but usually I was in bed by 9 o'clock. Yeah.
And one thing, I'm sure we'll touch on it in more detail when we get to the actual race day and to the top end of when you're at your peak of your career and your disciplines and your routines. But people probably don't really understand or talk about us fans. Or we come and we love a punt. We don't really understand or get the resilience factor that comes. Like, jockeys are genuinely probably one of it's probably one of the toughest sports, and you got to be super fit.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You'd have to be really fit. You got to be pretty light, so you got to be strict with your diet. Long hours. A lot of time on the road when you're traveling to country races and that sort of thing. And it's not just racing. It's probably like a lot of sports. You tend to lose more than you win. So you got to be pretty resilient. There's a lot of you can have falls and injuries, so you have to overcome with that as well. So you have to be pretty driven to want to get to the top in it. Because and it's not just racing; it's a lot of sports. The high end, the high caliber of the sport, can get paid really well. But there's a majority that don't get paid that well. But it's still, I kind of like working outdoors. I love working with animals. So it's not all just hard work. There's fun parts to it as well. Yeah.
It was interesting when you were talking about the apprenticeship, about actually looking after the horses, like you said, between 2 and 5 o'clock. Because I would have thought, all right, you're going and you're learning to be a jockey, you're learning to race, but so you're getting all those other jobs, just a day-to-day of literally looking after a horse. Yeah,
you're kind of like a glorified strapper, really.
Okay.
That's how you start out, and then you progress to be, riding in trials and riding in races, and then probably it's changed a lot since I started. If you weren't at the races, you were, working in the afternoons, whereas I'm not sure a lot of the apprentices do that these days, but there was incentive to try and get to the races every day, so you didn't have to go back in the afternoon and work.
How much travel are you doing? And I'm sure you're traveling to lots of rural, clubs as well. Places that probably don't have the best locker rooms or dressing rooms compared to, others as well.
Yeah, look, I know some jockeys can do over 100,000 Ks a year in their car, travelling to some country meetings. Victoria's probably lucky that you don't have to travel more than about 3 or 4 hours, and a lot of the tracks are within 1 or 2 hours, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
The metropolitan sort of status jockeys probably don't travel quite as much as a country jock, so yeah, it can vary. Yeah.
Is there a country meet that has a spot in your heart? Because I mean, we could talk about Flemington and Royal Ascot and all those ones, but is there one kind of more unique one that comes to mind?
I wouldn't say one more unique one. You like going to the better tracks in Victoria. They're kind of like your Sale, Bendigo, Pakenham sort of tracks, the nicer tracks to ride on. Wouldn't say there's one specific.
Was there one that was more successful for you for whatever reasons? Like, I think of it from a footy terminology. You get to some grounds, you're like, I know, like this suits me for whatever reason. I'm gonna have a good day.
I think it's probably more about the horse. If it suits the horse more than jockey. If you're a good jockey, you should be able to ride on any track. But I'm sure there's some out there I had more success than others. Yeah.
The locker room it's very unique. I've heard you talk about it before on other forums as well. But you love your footy. You played a lot of footy as a junior, so the team, the camaraderie. Compared to going into, say, the jockey locker room, what's the comparison between the two? Because obviously it's an individual sport, but there's still banter, there's still competitiveness in a healthy way.
It's quite different. Like if you're in a football team locker, you're all in the same team. Whereas as a jockey, you're competing against one another, but you're doing a high risk sport, so you got to have a healthy respect and like your rivals, but you always got to have a fair bit of care for and responsibility and trust in one another as well. So, there's a lot of banter that goes in amongst the jockeys' room in between. The ones that are doing it hard, losing their weight, they might have eaten, for the last day or two, and you can needle them, and they're easy to get sometimes. And and that the ages are different. There's teenagers in there, and when I was in my 50s when I finished, so there could be 2 or 3 generations in the room. So there's a lot of there's a lot of different scenarios going on in the room for sure.
Yeah, by the time you finished, it was the TikTok boys coming through.
Yeah.
But we had Mark Zara sit there in that chair probably this time last year. It was really fascinating to get a bit of insight into him. Were you vocal on the track during a race? Are you vocal with other jockeys? I mean, he's not afraid to tell people where to go if things get a bit dicey.
Well, you might remember during COVID there was no one on the tracks, and you could hear my voice screaming at the horses. That was giving away my trade secret.
Wonder if we could find that footage. I don't think you will, but yeah.
So it became known as the Ollie Roar, and
the Ollie Roar.
It became
was that at horses
and a few
or
other jockeys started doing it as well. So yeah, but it's not easy to do if you've been starving yourself. You're quite dehydrated, and you're riding out. It's really aerobic you have to be really aerobically fit to ride a horse. So, and then you're roaring at a horse as well. It's not easy to do. But horses are sort of flight animals, and if you do yell at them, you get a response. So sometimes in a close finish, it could mean the difference between winning and losing.
Come on, what are you yelling? Tell us. You don't have to say it in the voice, but what kind of things are
It
you
was
saying?
just a roar, really. It wasn't any sort of
Yeah.
words or anything.
Just a grunt.
Just a noise.
There was sort of, we do have, yell and scream at each other a bit in a race, more if it's a bit of room or get out of my way sort of thing. But there's a bit that goes on a room. Probably in the higher stakes races or the longer races or that sort of thing. But yeah.
Well, I couldn't believe that. When Mark explained that, I didn't realise, again, when you're just watching on TV or you're at the races, you don't understand the etiquette that's actually on the track. You think, I don't know, some kind of black magic how horses make their way through and there's no almost indicating that I'm going to cut in right or left. So can you maybe explain a bit more how that actually works?
Look, the rule is you have to be 2 lengths clear of a horse. So your horse 1 length, another length, and then no one there. No, now rarely is that the case, but if you cut someone off and you're less than 2 lengths, then it's sort of your responsibility if you cause interference to another horse. So, sometimes you've got 16 plus horses racing in a pretty tight area. There's a lot of skill in the navigation of it all.
Yeah.
And like I said before, there's a lot of trust and responsibility amongst your fellow riders. But you kind of know, I used to have and I try and teach the younger jockeys too, if you're not... you don't want to hang around the sort of heels area of another horse because that's where a chance where you could actually catch a heel and fall. So you either want to be right up in there or right out of there because if you're hanging around in that area, that can be the sort of dangerous spot if someone moves. Yeah.
You're obviously born and bred Perth boy or WA boy. You came across to Melbourne as a young fella, spent a lot of time with the Freedmans early years. Can you maybe touch on that move as a youngster?
Yeah, so my brother came over a few years before me.
Okay.
He's 3 years older than me, so he was a leading apprentice in Perth at the time and came over and just probably found it hard going from a big fish in a little pond to a small fish in a big pond and got a bit homesick and but kind of made the established a relationship with the Freedmans and so he ended up going back home, but he did mention I've got a younger brother coming through in a few years' time, and so they sort of had been keeping a bit of an eye on me, and I did quite well in my first year riding. I think I rode about 60-odd winners or 66 winners, I think it was, before I came here after riding about 15 months, and he only claimed 1.5 kilos allowance as a jockey gets for their inexperience, so he sort of planned it that I'd come over with 2.5 kilos allowance because once you get to 1.5, the trainers drop off you a little bit. Mm-hmm. So the timing was really good. I came over in the winter time where the apprentices get a good go. I still had 2.5 kilos claim. I had some good experience under my belt, like you're seeing with some of these young Tasmanian jockeys coming over now, doing really well. They're riding for a year or two in Tassie before they come over here and they've still got their claim. So it was a little bit like that, and I also teamed up with a great stable in the Freedmans who are a real emerging stable and had some good horses coming through, and they were looking for a good young, ambitious sort of jockey, and we sort of really hit it off together and did really well.
Yeah, well, no pun intended. You picked the right horse in that. With stables and trainers and owners too, what's it like when you have to make a decision in a big race of which horse you're going to pick when they're all wanting you, and you've ridden the horse in previous races, you've got a good relationship, but you're going to go in a different direction. What are those conversations like? Yeah,
look, I was faced with the decisions many a time along my career. A lot of it comes down to your loyalty sometimes, how much you ride for one particular stable as to the other horse. Of course, a lot of the time you want to ride the best possible horse you can, but it doesn't always come down to that. Mm-hmm. If I'm when I was riding for the Freedmans, riding all their horses and I'm just getting the odd ride out here, if I didn't ride most of their horses, unless their horse was useless and I could have a really good ride over here, they sometimes would release this sort of thing. But you kind of had to remain a little bit loyal to the main stable you're riding for, unless they didn't have a horse, then you could ride someone else's. So there is a bit of a juggling act to it.
Is there ever robust conversations or?
Yeah, I remember one year I was on a horse, Paris Lane, who I won a Caulfield Cup on, mm-hmm. and I'd won a Moonee Valley Cup on a horse for David Hayes called Top Rating, which I think won really well. Looked like being one of the favourites for the Cup, and Freedmans wanted me to ride Paris Lane. I sort of kind of a little bit keen to ride the other one, but they said, you got to ride, you're riding this one or else sort of thing. So I kind of had to stick. He ended up running second in the Melbourne Cup, and the other horse didn't go so good.
What did the Hayes crew say?
Well, they could kind of understood
Yeah.
because I was sort of committed to the Freedman stable, yeah.
Yeah. And is it an industry where, well, I know the answer, but I'd love to hear you explain it. Like, it seems like you can't burn bridges.
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful, for sure, in those areas. It works a bit of both ways. Sometimes you might get the sack off a horse and you kind of have to just cop it, and sometimes you might want to say your piece, but it's a big circle. What comes around goes around, and a bit both ways too. You don't want to try and burn your bridges getting off. If you do get off a horse, it's probably best to explain your reasons, and hopefully the connections will take it well enough to still want to use you, because you got to, like I said, it's a big circle. And it comes around.
Everyone knows
around.
everyone, don't they?
Exactly, yeah. And and people can get upset sometimes if you don't want to ride their horse.
Can they incentivize you to ride by increasing the percentage of winning should you win? Is that allowed? I always
It can
get
happen.
confused with that.
Yeah. It's a bit rare, but it can happen. Yeah.
Because that's how you make your money, isn't it, as a jockey? Because everyone gets paid the same flat rate across every racetrack, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Jockeys get a flat riding rate.
Yep.
It varies from different states. Usually about $280 odd.
But that doesn't matter if it's
per
Flemington or Mornington.
Correct.
Or,
yeah.
Okay.
And then you get a percentage, 5% of the prize money, whatever that is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that's one part that's I always just assumed that's how they could negotiate, but obviously it's not the case.
If we can get, we could probably work out Ollie how much he's earned over the years. I reckon if we got the numbers up, because there's a lot of wins on Ollie's name. That's for sure.
We won't embarrass you. This episode with the GOAT, Damien Oliver, is brought to you by our friends at CoinSpot.
The easiest and best place to buy, sell, and trade all cryptocurrencies. What
I like that word, easiest.
Yeah. What are you going with on there?
Well, I've been told that I'm not allowed to actually give out tips on this because I could be leading people astray.
Actually, that's a good
Definitely not
point.
financial advice, but I've got a little bit going on.
You've got a nice little,
You're more of a Bitcoin man. That's a bit more safer to say.
Yeah, I like to diversify.
You do.
Yeah. So, but
CoinSpot's the best
I've
place
got
to do
CoinSpot.
that.
I could show you right now. On my
No,
phone.
we're not doing that. We've said that last time. We can't say that, but CoinSpot is the easiest place to do it. So why not use them?
Download the app today.
Back to the episode with Damien Oliver. We're going to bring up some of your memories, but maybe if you're willing to talk, because through your career, you obviously love the sport, but there's been a lot of heartache in the sport too. You lost your dad, you lost your brother, and even for yourself, you're that close to being paralysed. How do you, to explain to your family, your wife, your kids, your mum, what are those conversations like when you want to get back on the horse?
Yeah, look, at times they weren't easy, obviously I lost my father when I was pretty young, so 3 years old, didn't really know my father. And then lost my brother in 2002 when I was about 30. And that was both through racing incidents.
What actually happened, if you don't mind me asking?
With my brother?
Yeah, or with both of them?
My father died in 1975 in a race fall in the MELBOURNE Cup in Kalgoorlie. It was a massive fall going out of the straight the first time. I think like 6 or 7 horses fell, and he never survived that. And then my brother had a fall at the trials in Perth, and he didn't survive that as well, obviously, So, yeah, and like you said, I had a bad fall myself. I think it was about 2004 or 5, where I fractured my T3 and 4 in my vertebrae and had 6 vertebrae fused, and like you said, was millimetres away from being paralysed myself. So, you kind of start to question the worthwhile of it. And I was faced with that when being out of the saddle for about 15 months. One, was I going to be able to come back, and 2, was there something else that I could do or would want to do? And I was still pretty young, so I was about 32 at the time, and I felt like if I could, I didn't really want to end my career that way. And so I thought, as I said, nothing really appealed to me to do outside of that in that time, and I thought it was in my best interest just to get myself in the best possible shape to see if I was able to come back to ride. And after a while, I was able to do that. It was like learning to walk again, pretty much. And I started riding track work, and then kind of felt like I still wanted to do it, and came back to riding after that.
Like Dee said, what are the conversations like around that time with your family?
Yeah, I think my mum and my wife were a little bit uneasy about it.
Yeah.
But they've always supported me in anything I've wanted to do. And I think my wife was probably sick of having me around the house for about 15 months. Probably happy to see me go back to work after that.
Yeah. But like the thing that's, and I get it, you're an athlete, and I understand probably the competitiveness that you would have. But at that stage of your career, you've already achieved, I don't know if in your eyes if you'd feel the same, but from us looking on, you've probably already achieved the ultimate. There's not much more you can probably do in the sport. So what motivates you to go back? And do you remember the first time you actually got back onto a horse and what it felt like?
Oh, I can't really remember what it felt like. Would have felt pretty good. My body was never quite the same after it.
But did you fear? Were you scared?
Yeah, it probably took a little bit to get the confidence back after such a bad injury. And like I said, I got 6 vertebrae fused in my spine. So that T1 to T6 kind of between my shoulder blades is all fixed now. So I never had that flexibility in my spine after that. I sort of felt like I was probably only ever got back to about 80% of my physical capability after that injury. But I think as you get older, you get a bit smarter and wiser as, you know, how to read a race and that kind of thing. But yeah, it did take a little bit to get the confidence back. And look, I had a fall about 6 weeks, another terrible fall 6 weeks after I came back. A horse had a massive heart attack in a simple race at Werribee at the 600 metre mark. I was in the middle of the field. The horse reared up like in the middle of the race, had a massive heart attack, fell onto the running rail. I took out about 50 to 100 metres of aluminium running rail with steel uprights. And that fall, I think, was the catalyst of introducing plastic running rails after that, because it looked like I was going to be decapitated. And I got out of it pretty well. I broke a bone in my hand and had a gash on my face, and I was out for about a month, I think. They put a plate in my hand, but I knew having that fall and getting through that, believe it or not, gave me confidence, because I felt like I could get through that and still be okay, because I was a little bit cautious coming back. If I had another fall, what might happen?
It's almost like that first bump in footy, come back from an injury, that first hit,
Yeah, it's a bit strange, but strange enough, that's how it felt. So it did give me a little bit of confidence in my body. And I had a great ride in that year's Melbourne Cup coming up. I did a couple of stints in the few years before my injury in Japan, and had made some good contacts, and I was riding a horse called Pop Rock, who I thought would be a great chance in the Melbourne Cup. So I had a big reason to come back to try and to get back, because in that time I'd lost my job with the Freedmans. They'd gone with another jockey in the time, and it was difficult re-establishing myself, losing that bit of security blanket riding for them. I had to go out and chase, and get my own rides and earn people's, I suppose, not so much trust, but their belief that I could still perform at the highest level.
Japan, I'm keen to hear about that. How long did you spend? How much time did you spend in Japan?
Yeah, I was probably. You see guys like Damien Lane and I think Huey Bowman, Craig Williams, all gone over there since. So I was probably one of the first to go over there, and I did a couple of 3-month stints over there in the early 2000s, where I'm not sure many Australian jockeys had gone over there. It was sort of internet was just starting, so it was pretty tough going as far as there's not much English over there. You sort of have to work through an interpreter. And you're living out in the sticks, but great experience. I loved it. I've so much respect for their horses. They got some really, really good horses over there.
Where else did you ever do Hong Kong or America or these sorts of places?
I spent a bit of time in Hong Kong over my career as well. It's a good place to ride. I was a bit young when I went over there. I was in my early 20s, and I just felt I missed Australian lifestyle too much.
Yeah. Roughly what years was that in Hong Kong?
Mostly through the 90s.
Okay, because we've heard some wives' tales about Hong Kong racing back in the day that it could have been a little bit potentially corrupt at times. Did you witness any of that? Or
look, I don't think so. Maybe back a bit further than that.
Yep.
The prize money's so good over there now, and it's a great place to ride for a jockey. You can earn so much money, but I think, like I said, I was a bit young when I was there. I missed home a bit, missed the Aussie lifestyle a bit. I think the perfect time to probably do it is if you're in your 30s, you've got a young family, and just riding twice a week. I think the way Huey Bowman's done it's probably a good time to do it.
It sounds somewhat actually scary, some of the stories I've heard, because of the passion from the owners. Like, it's not like...
Yeah, it's pretty ruthless. They love a punt over there, and then they only race twice a week, and there's like probably less than 20 races a week, so there's not too many opportunities. You've got to make the most of the opportunities you get.
Yeah.
Did you find like going to a country like Japan, not speaking the language, speaking with the owners, trainers, was that difficult? Like the language barrier? I know you got interpreters and things like that, but still, it's got to be challenging.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit tricky. You're relying on your interpreter and your trainers a lot. But I felt riding over there was a bit easier in Australia. I didn't think they had the depth of jockeys that we had over there, and they probably don't race as tight as us. Pretty even, truly run races, so not so much dependent on pace and luck in your races, but they're really strict on interference. If you cause interference over there, you can get suspended quite easily. Yeah.
When you mentioned before the coming back from injury, having to almost change your tact a little bit, like it wasn't so like your body wasn't the same. You had to find a new way to win, and that you were saying before it was like more tactically. You found a different feel or a different vision of what's in front of you. Putting it in like footy terms, you know, you get together, you put together a team tactic. All right, this is how we're going to play as a side. Everyone knows their role. Do you do that, say, with the trainer or the owners as well? Like when you're saying your body, you know, might not be what it used to be, but now you have to change tact. Is that a team effort with everyone else?
I think, me personally, I think when you're younger and you don't have any injuries, you don't have to think about
instinct.
Preparation as much. And it's probably something I had to focus on, strengthening up the muscles around my back, and I learnt so much more about myself in preparation post that injury. Getting back to the tactics side of things, I think that doesn't change too much regarding your body in that. It's probably you confer with the trainer, you have your own game plan, and you'll confer with the trainer and come together somewhere there what you think's the best way to ride the horse. But at the end of the day, you're the jockey, you've got to make the decisions, and things can change pretty quickly. So the best jockeys usually can adapt to the best situation or think on the run and make quick decisions.
Dosh will tell you, I weirdly love animals. So I'm really interested in a lot of the stuff to do with the horses and the psyche. I know most of it none of us can obviously answer, and this could be the dumbest question you've ever received, so apologies in advance, but is there any difference between an Australian horse or a Japanese horse or an Irish horse or horses from different parts of the world in any way, or is it just the same?
Good question.
I suppose not so much in their character, but more so in their physique and their style of racing. I think the European horses are naturally better stayers, but they do have sprinters as well. But there's more depth in their staying horses in Australia, whereas where our horses mostly are predominantly bred here to sprint as young horses and up to a mile. We do have some that go further, but there's not much depth in our stayers, where the Europeans and the Japanese horses, their horses probably a mile plus are stronger than ours as a whole. But like I said, we do have some, but our horses are probably, our sprinter milers our good horses are competitive with most horses in the world.
So when they come over, because for the big races now, obviously the prize money's going up, it's attracting the best horses all across the world. What's the process for when a horse comes over for, say, a Melbourne Cup as an example? How long do they actually spend in Australia adapting to Australian conditions? How do you get a horse up for a different environment?
They usually quarantine in the UK for a couple of weeks and then a couple of weeks here at Werribee's, or the training facility. So the ones that I feel are the most successful, the ones that are planned to race here at our Spring Carnival, if they've raced right through their season over there and come here as an afterthought, it's hard for them to perform at their best. But if they're really aimed at a specific goal here, then they're the ones that generally perform the best.
And as a jockey, do you care? Like, because a lot of the punters will say, or some people will say, oh, this is becoming an international race. We want to see more Australian horses. Do you care as a jockey where they come from? Or would you like to see more Australian horses competing in those bigger races?
Oh, I think we'd all love to see more Australian horses competing in it. But the bottom line is we don't breed for it. It's difficult. Half yours won the double last year, so it can happen. It's just tougher to compete with the European horses and, because it's their strong point, so to speak, not our strong point.
We Australians, we love a punt. We're known as like probably one of the nations across the world that love a bet more than anyone. When you get off your horse, I mean, now today's day and age, social media is a bit different. But did you cop it a lot? From across the fence? When it come to losing a race or you were the reason someone's bet fell through. Like, is that a challenge that you were faced with a bit over the years?
Oh, back in the day, pre-social media, you get given to it, especially at Flemington. You got to go down those roses out to the track there. It's quite a long way. I've had guys follow me the whole way, give it to me, and then on the way back. And if you're having a bad day, they used to get. You don't get that as much these days. It's more through the social media. So I do feel a bit for the younger generation, kids that grow up on their phones, and through the social media they can cop it a bit. But I was never one for social media when I was riding. I'm a bit of a dinosaur, just getting into it a bit now these days. So
What about the opposite? You don't get a big kiss on the lips from some big sweaty bloke if you win a race.
Well, I got chaired off the track one day by some owners. So I qualified their horse for the Melbourne Cup. That's some good friends. That was a pretty wild day and night, that one. Yeah.
Do you go out and celebrate with them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you can. Yeah.
There's some of the best pieces of footage, when it crosses to the owner's yard or where all the owners will stand and, gets over the line, and it's typically the slow-mo, as well, and everyone's like, going absolutely berserk. It's good to hear that, you get out and celebrate with the team.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Are you enjoying the media side of it now, coming out of the sport, like as in more of as a pundit?
Yeah, I am. I can understand how any sportsman struggles in that transition. It's not easy when you've done it for so long and it's sort of a big part of your life. But you still need some purpose and somewhere to go and something to do. And I think it's good for me to stay involved, even though you kind of love to still be doing it. I miss probably the big days more so than the grind of the whole thing. But you miss a little bit too, that catching up with the people at the track and unearthing that good horse and watching it progress into a good race sort of thing. But at some stage, I was pretty lucky to have quite a long career, but the body was sort of starting to fail me a little bit at the end. And it's still great to stay involved and now give something back to the sport through the younger jockeys coming through, pass on some of your experiences and knowledge as well.
With the media side of things, is it somewhat of a challenge because there is an area where you're the expert and you have to be critical in some ways too, like. Is that hard? Having to in the media, having to have an opinion of the guys you used to work with.
A little bit. I think being there, done it is a big positive, because at least you can understand firsthand if someone got it wrong or why they got it wrong or the reasons why it happened. And I always try and explain that. Unless, if now and again we all make howlers, but when you're dealing with an animal that's going 60 plus Ks and you've got 15 other jockeys around you, you can't always get your own way, and sometimes it's hard for the punters to understand that when they've had their hard earned on it. I get it, but you kind of have to try and explain it from a jockey's perspective as well.
Cbus Super. Build your something.
All right, Dos, it's time for Inside 60, which is brought to you by our mates at Cbus.
Now, everyone's building something, whether it's a career, a business, a family, or a life you're proud of. The future isn't built overnight. It's built one step at a time.
That's right. Cbus is proud to support Australians as they build the future they're working towards.
Learn more about Cbus at cbussuper.com.au today.
Now, we're going to go into Inside 60. This is a rapid fire 60 seconds. Some of these questions are a little bit more financial related in your life. But again, we just need very brief answers. If you don't know the answer, just go pass. We're going to have this 60-second timer start. And I'll count Dos in. So we'll go 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
Yes.
Good.
If you could retire anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably back in WA, I reckon.
Nice.
Eventually. Nice climate over there.
Yeah. Most annoying habit of yours?
Oh, most annoying habit.
What would your wife say?
Probably lying on the couch.
There you go. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure.
Bit of chocolate?
Like a bit of chocolate. Don't mind a beer. Don't mind a wine. But try not to overindulge in any of those these days.
Well, you can now.
Yeah. I still like to try and keep a little bit fit. Yeah.
Best investment you've ever made financially?
Probably any house I bought.
Yep.
What's the worst investment you made?
I got talked into a tax gear investment one time that ended up costing me a lot more than the tax I saved on it.
3 phone apps you can't live without.
I've got into Instagram a bit
Nice.
of recent. That's probably my main one. what else do I probably look at? Racing.com for the replays as well, and Racing Australia for the racing. Yeah, so mostly around racing, I would say, and probably the Surf Report as well. We've got
to touch
on
an
that.
eye on too. Yeah.
We've made it through the 60 seconds, but I really wanted to ask you this question: who is the most famous person in your phone?
Oh, in my phone.
Whose number do you have access to?
I don't know. It depends who you call
What
famous.
kind of category? I guess,
that's okay.
He's probably got a very rich shake, over in
Yeah.
No, that's more your Mark Zara area.
Oh yeah, true.
No, well, thanks for that, mate. We appreciate that. Just hold for a second. What did you take from that? Is that
Well, the apps on the phone I like. Instagram, yeah. So you're enjoying a bit of social media these days?
Look, I kind of, when I was riding, I was never into it at all. But I think as I've got older, and since post-retirement, I think it's important to engage with people through that. Not that I'm still pretty novice at it, to be honest. But
your kids would be all over it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they're much better than me. I always ask them for advice and that. But it's a good way to just stay in touch with people and keep up to date with things, I suppose.
Yeah. In terms of like investing, you said a house. Like early years, what were some of the better pieces of advice? We talk to a lot of different athletes in different sports, and they typically have a bit of help, a bit of guidance on like investments and their future. Is that something that exists in the racing fraternity? Like
look, it's not something that's readily available. They probably do get some advice through their apprenticeship, but I think there could be more support in that area for young jockeys. Particularly, most of them leave school when they're 15 and aren't too educated in that space. So I think it's something that could improve upon for sure.
And I was just going to ask too, on the investment thing, obviously being in the industry you're in, you're surrounded by a lot of wealth. Have you had a few weird business ideas, Damien, I just need to chat to you. I know the horse is about to run, but have you got 5 minutes? I've got this business idea.
There's probably far too many I could recall. But
I bet that.
Bit of Shark Tank about it.
Yeah. God. You touched on your brother earlier on, and I really am interested in the 2002 Melbourne Cup. And maybe the story, we're going to watch a race in a second and love you to maybe talk us through it, how you end up winning this race. But maybe the lead up to it, the emotion behind it, how difficult it must have even been to even show up.
Yeah, well, I'll take you back a couple of weeks before this, actually, or even further. I was trying to get on the stablemate, Vinnie Rowe, who was the sort of champion stayer in Europe, and I knew Dermot Weld a bit. I'd spent an English-Irish summer over there, our winter riding over there, and I kind of identified in the 90s how strong the European horses were, so I thought it'd be good to go over there and have a look for it myself and make some contacts. And anyway, I knew one of the owners in Vinnie Rowe, and I was trying to get on him. Unfortunately, the owner didn't have big enough share in it, and Dermot said, no, Pat Smullen is my jockey, he'll ride that horse, but we're bringing another one out called Media Puzzle. Promising horse, probably hasn't reached, he's had a few little setbacks, hasn't reached his full potential yet, and but he's not qualified. He needs to win the Geelong Cup to qualify. So I galloped in the week before at Flemington, worked with a nice horse of the Hayes team, and just blew it away. I thought this horse will be winning the Geelong Cup. So I went to Geelong and he bolted that up, track record time, gets a penalty, gets into the Cup. Great, I've got a good Melbourne Cup ride. The Monday after, my brother had a bad accident at the trials in Perth, and unfortunately, I was on the golf course at the time, and a friend rang me and said, "Oh, you better get over. Your brother's had a bad fall." So I flew over to Perth, not really knowing what was going on, and got there, and he was in the hospital on life support for a couple of days, and unfortunately didn't make it. And having to turn off your life support for your brother is probably one of the worst things you could do. So then that was probably by about Wednesday or Thursday, and I had to make the decision. This was before Derby Day. If I've 8 rides Derby Day, 8 rides Cup Day, half of them are favourite both days. And at the time, I was probably flying a little bit like J-Mac is now, sort of getting, the pick of the rides, and had some great rides. But I kind of felt like, I had to make the decision, was I going to be able to ride, and was I going to be up to it and ride to my best? And I sort of sat down with my mum. At the time, it was just me and my mum left, and kind of sat down on the couch together, not too different like we are now, and just thought, what would my brother want us to do? And, if I'd have been sitting at home on that couch watching that Melbourne Cup, he would have been saying, "You bloody idiot, what are you doing?" So decided I'd go back to Melbourne and ride. I got back Friday morning, rode a horse at the Freedmans. Got to be honest, didn't feel anywhere near my best, but thought I could do it. So I get there Derby Day. Couldn't ride a winner to save myself. I had a few of them I didn't ride so well. Some I rode well, didn't perform to their best, and usually on Derby Day, this is, social media hadn't really started. If you're getting beaten on 4 or 5 favourites, they're pretty quick to let you know up and down that Flemington race. But the punters weren't too bad, actually. I could feel kind of they were supporting us. So got through that day and kind of just had to remind myself I was doing it for the right reasons. And so fronted up again on Cup Day, bit similar again, 8 rides. Was having a shocker again. Couldn't ride a winner to save myself. Had a few placings. But went out into that Cup just trying to reinforce myself that, it might be a day, but it could be a moment. So went out on that Cup, and when I get out on the track and I was on the horse, it was where I felt the best, without all the people sort of looking or talking about you shouldn't be riding. And I've never had a race go so smoothly for me in that Cup. I got into a beautiful position.
Oh, should we click play and have a look?
Did you get a good barrier?
Yeah, I drew about 6, I think. Yeah. And I remember Glenn Boss.
So where are you here?
I'm in the yellow cap, predominantly yellow.
Yep.
Just with a white noseband on the horse, just coming to the sort of 3 out from the outside, hitting the front now. And Glenn Boss is behind me, and actually he tells the story is better than me. He said, I've never followed someone in a Cup that's gone so good. And he just cruised up to the front here, went past Vinnie Rowe, and I was thinking he's going to win. I was just hoping I hadn't gone too soon. And this sort of had a really light weight. He had 52 kilos, which was like 3 kilos under my normal riding weight. I didn't have to have a sauna. The weight just fell off us through the grief.
Oh, yeah.
And he kicked away, and it was just an unbelievable moment. And,
Jeez, you've absolutely smashed
Blitzed him.
Yeah, it was. It was just a huge sigh of relief when I crossed the line. And I didn't realise at the time how big a moment it was. But it was just a wonderful tribute to my brother, who was a massive influence on my career.
Yeah.
Was it emotional that day?
Yeah,
That night?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Must have been.
Where was your mum?
I think
Was she
she
there?
was in. No, I think she was still in Perth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Because that would I can only imagine what that would have been like.
She
for
was,
her.
yeah. Because I flew home the following day, and then we had the funeral for my brother on the Wednesday. Yeah.
What a whirlwind of days. I mean, we asked Mark this too, but what does it do to your career? And I know that was your second Melbourne Cup, but what does it do to your career when you win a big race like that?
It does. It's a life-changing experience. Always, my best way of putting it, you could win every other big race on the Australian calendar and not be recognised by people outside the sport, but you win the Melbourne Cup, and then you kind of are, you can go walking down the street and they're going, oh, that's that jockey guy. They might know who you are, but they kind of, they've seen you become a bit more relevant, and it opens a lot of doors internationally for you as well, if that's what you want to do, go and ride overseas as well.
Well, take us into the locker room right before that, or even maybe the week, because it's a massive build-up. You obviously go into, what do they call it when they draw the barriers? That's an event in itself. So you go into that. All the other jockeys are around. Is everyone kind of, all the other boys and females too, are they checking in on you throughout that time?
Look, the barrier draw's done after the races on Saturday, Derby Day, and then Cup Day is quite a long day in itself, because races usually start about 10 o'clock, so it's a long day, and a lot of jockeys are, really light. They've sort of lost a lot of weight to try and ride, because it's a lot of lightweights in the Cup. So you kind of, but you're at your peak fitness. It's in the, towards the end of the spring carnival. And the Melbourne Cup's a bit different, because there's like an hour between the previous race and the Cup. So you have to be mindful not to run your race before it, if you know what I mean. It's supposed to be like a build up to a grand final. Just keeping yourself calm and not getting too caught up in the moment. And I think it's a race that you do learn. The more rides you have in it, the better you get at it, so to speak, because it's different to any other race. It's longer than most races. 24 runners, big field. Just getting your horse. There's a big crowd there, so you got to keep your horse nice and relaxed when you do get on the horse. And it's not about you getting caught up in the moment, or the horse getting caught up in the moment as well.
I was going to say, which race day to you is your favourite?
Most of the big days, like Melbourne Cup Day, Cox Plate days, the old Moonee Valley was a great atmosphere. the Caulfield Cups, of course. Slipper Day in Sydney is used to be a great day. It's probably lost a little bit now. I think Everest has probably taken over from that as well now. But just the big days internationally, riding the big meetings in Hong Kong and Japan, Ascot in the UK. You know, those big meetings where the big crowds are and the stakes are high and the pressure's there. Those are the sort of moments I used to love.
Now, who came to you with the movie idea? Can I just also say it is a ripping movie? Serious. I went to the movies with my granddad, who also was a jockey too, and I remember going and seeing it, and he had tears in his eyes. I remember it was an awesome movie.
So I sat down with a guy. I can't think of his name. It was Richard, someone who wrote the script. Not long after the Cup, and he was a magazine feature writer from the US. And it was kind of his idea after hearing my story about this Cup that it should be a movie. And I think he drove it a lot. Simon Windsor was the director of the movie, and I think he had a lot to do with Far Lap and a few other movies as well. So yeah, it was a weird one to have a movie made about a part of your life, but it was pretty, a big honour too to have someone or people, a lot of people, 'cause it takes a lot of money to invest about a film to have a movie made about a piece of your life. The strangest part for me was one going to the opening of it, premiere, and then the other thing was watching it on a plane with other people watching it, and I had my young daughter with me at the time, and kind of seeing how people react, and like some people were crying, I was crying, you know. So.
Did you have any creative input in this movie? Did you go in and say, "Look, we're cutting that scene," or "This isn't done quite right"?
Look, I had a lot to do with the script, but there was a little bit of poetic license throughout it, as you can imagine. And I also was a technical advisor on some of the race scenes as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if we can find anything from the Cup, the movie. I'm not sure, but
Have a look at the Cup. While you do that, I would love to know, because you've referenced it a few times, what's the biggest extreme or the biggest length you've gone to cut weight?
Biggest length.
Or did you have a little trick that helped you to cut it quick?
Look, back in the early days, you could take some stuff that would help you lose weight.
diuretic.
Yeah,
Ozempic.
and they probably for the best, cut that out. Probably in the early 2000s, I'm going to say, around that area. So
that would go under. Would that go under?
Enhance?
Enhancing.
not so much. I wouldn't say it enhanced
it
you,
wouldn't
but it
enhance
sort of just helped you lose weight easier.
Yeah.
You could probably ride a lighter weight, but probably not good for your health long term.
Sure.
And other ways, obviously just sauna or a hot bath and that kind of thing, or you put a lot of clothes on, go for some exercise and just sweat it out.
Yeah, before it was trendy to have a sauna.
Yeah. Well, did you ever have the suits?
Yeah,
The sweatsuits?
Sweatsuits, yeah. Jockeys still
Go for a
use them.
jog?
Yep.
Bloody hell.
So you just run and just sweat.
Run, exercise, or you could do it using track work as well, summertime.
Were you a runner? Did you like running?
I wasn't a big fan of running. I used to go to the gym a little bit. I've done a bit of hot yoga over the time as well. I always enjoyed doing a bit of boxing to keep fit. Yeah.
That just sounds like torture. If you don't like running and you have to run to lose weight,
Yeah, I always had bad hips. I've just had a hip replacement about 12 months ago. So they kind of had 3 cleanups over them over, my career, and eventually that's what sort of finished my career. It was just my hip was gone in the end. Yeah.
How'd you go, Charlie? Any luck? Oh, we've got some. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have a quick. Oh,
might be the ad.
Is this a
Here we
trailer?
go. Actually, when was the last time you watched this, you reckon?
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was this made, Ollie?
So
if you can get
the
some
cup
volume.
itself was 2002, but it wasn't made till. I remember talking to Stephen Curry about it. He said, "I can't wait till this fucking movie's over." He said,
Lean, isn't he?
I don't know how you do it. He said, "I'm sick of starving myself."
Steve, yeah.
Was that Dan McPherson?
He was. He played my brother. Yeah.
Wow.
Jodie Gordon played my wife.
Jodie, yeah, that's right. She was on Home and Away, wasn't she? Was Jodie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brendan Gleeson played Dermot Weld.
Do you know where some of these were filmed? Some of those.
Some of this was at Dermot Weld stables. A lot of them around Victorian country tracks and and some private training centres as well. I think some at Rosemount, Stud and Geelong.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's different tracks around. Yeah.
We've got up there the 2013 Melbourne Cup. Now, this one was big for me because this is when I was first legally allowed to gamble in the Melbourne Cup. 2013 is when I
Big
turned
moment
18.
for a young man.
And I was told I'm never in a cup, never back the favourite. So I actually ruled you out, Ollie. You'd be upset to know. But then, of course, you come and win this. Can you maybe click play, Charlie? And can you maybe just talk us through this one too?
Yeah, so this horse, I was lucky enough to pick up the ride halfway through his preparation, and
Which one are you here?
I am just coming around the outside,
Yep.
the dark colours now,
Yep.
sort of, just about to hit the front now. And
This was Gay, wasn't it?
yeah, Fiorente.
Fiorente,
And
that's it.
yeah, he was a beautiful horse, a lovely temperament, really nice horse to ride. He ran second the previous year. Gay had really set him to try and win the following year. She
Neck
hadn't won
and
the
neck
cup
here.
before. Yeah, just hit the front now and beat Red Cadeau, who I think he'd run second in
Yeah,
2 or
he
3
was
Melbourne
always
Cups.
unlucky horse,
A
yeah.
bit of a bridesmaid, but he was a great horse, and it was just a huge thrill to win my third cup in 3 different decades.
Oh, true.
And share one with Gay Waterhouse, who only, Melbourne Cup, who's been such a trailblazer in the industry. Yeah.
Outside of the emotion of what happened in some of the other, does any of those cups mean more to you? Maybe more because of either the odds of the horse or the position you were on the field. Is there anything that?
They're all good for different reasons.
Of
Obviously,
course.
Doremus was my first one,
Yep.
life-changing experience.
Was that the double? Did you do the double?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd run second the previous year.
Yep.
Then Media Puzzle, obviously relief and just huge emotion, but it was difficult to enjoy that one because the circumstance was more about losing my brother in that week than actually hard to enjoy winning the cup. And then Fiorente, lucky to win a third and, probably, what was it, 15, 18 years after I won my first. So
Do you pitch yourself? I mean, I know it's like a lot of times, but watching, like when you sit
Look at
here
that.
and
Look at Gay.
reflect, do you pitch yourself? Like, is it somewhat surreal to when you go back all the way back to at the start of the pod we talked about your apprentice days?
yeah, I think when you start off, you never think you're going to reach those sort of heights.
Yeah.
But once you start competing at level, you kind of expect to be there, although you still realise how lucky you are, but you expect to be up there riding good chances in the Melbourne Cup, and I was lucky enough to do it. I think I rode in over 30. So, yeah, had a great run at it for a long time.
Good strike rate too.
Yeah, bloody good strike. The Cox Plate, do you reckon that's... I know the Cup is, the race that stops the nation. It's a public holiday. It's become more of an international event now. But the Cox Plate is still... I feel like it's still a real fans event. It's still a real punters event. The Cox Plate is such a huge day.
Yep.
You've won 2 of them. Do they differentiate in terms of... what they mean to you? To win 2 Cox Plates, everyone talks about your cups, but they're 2 massive days.
Yeah, they were quite different. Winning my first one on an outsider for Bart Cummings, Dane Ripper. She was only, I think it was about 6 or 8 horses in the field, and she was 40-1 the outsider. So that was, it was her first start beyond 1,600 metres. So, and being the outsider, there wasn't so much pressure. But I just knew I had to ride her well for her to win, and it was a real duck and weave kind of ride. And she got up on the inside, and that was a huge thrill to win your first Cox Plate. And then Northerly, winning on Northerly, an ex-West Australian horse, was a huge thrill as well. Having that WA connection was great as well. So, yeah, I wish I'd won a couple more, but pretty happy to have won 2.
Yeah.
And we could cut this, by the way, but I was interested to ask you if you're happy to talk about it, about the suspension and what happened, and then the coming back from it too, because I'd be interested to hear. I mean, we're more about positivity on this show, but the comeback afterwards and maybe the work you might have had to do to then regain the trust of your fellow peers and jockeys in the industry.
Yeah, look, I learned a lot from that. One bad decision can really cost you a lot. Like I spent a lot of my career building a good reputation, and one bad decision can ruin that straight away. So it was a difficult time in my life that led up to that. Losing my brother, breaking my back, losing the job I had with the Freedmen. So when I look back on it, it was a lot of a build-up towards that, and it put a lot of stress on my family life as well. But like I said, I had to own the mistake I made. It was my mistake, no one else's. And but what I did realise out of it is how lucky you are to do what you did. And I had to work really hard to get the trust of the people around you in the industry back. And fortunately, I was still young enough, even though I think it might happen sort of the last 10 years or so of my career, probably not quite that late, but I still hadn't a chance to redeem myself, and I felt like I did that well enough over the latter stages of my career.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you had a hip replacement, so I hope, can you still get out there and have a surf?
I can. I'm not quite as agile as I used to be, but still enjoy having a surf.
Okay,
yeah.
good. So have you surfed all your life? Like WA is such a beautiful place to surf. Or is that something you picked up kind of middle of your career?
I started doing it when I was about 12 or 13. I reckon I watched the original Endless Summer movie, and I thought, how good does this look? And I didn't even actually live that close to the beach. I was half an hour away from the beach, but I started doing it as about a 12-year-old in the 80s, and it was a kind of it was a bit of a...
Was it a bit trendy?
It was trendy, back then, and I love the ocean, and I just loved it. So I did it for a few years before I started my apprenticeship, and then never did it again till, well, not say never, I hardly did it again during my apprenticeship because you're just working too hard. You don't have the time, and I was lucky enough to meet an owner who started Quicksilver, the surf company, and a couple of owners. Another guy had surf, dive and ski, and I kind of built up
handy connections,
a great friendship with them, and it kind of got me back into it. So once I finished my apprenticeship, I had a little bit more time on my hands, and I found it as a great outlet for me to just get away from racing as well. I think racing so consuming sometimes. You do need something outside of it. See, some people like to play golf. I like to play golf too, but surfing's probably the best thing as far as you actually doing some physical exercise, but it just takes you away from you're just out in the water. You're not thinking about anything else but the next wave that's coming in.
Yeah, like even golf, you've still got your phone with you. You're carrying it with you. Whereas surfing, you're out there for a few hours, just you with the waves, probably pretty therapeutic.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you could talk us through what it's like to be...
I'm not. You don't want to ask me about surfing.
Where do you go out to surf? Where's your spot?
Mostly down Torquay Way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bells Beach.
I thought that might be the case. But the final segment and the goodies for Ollie, which we're very excited for.
Yeah.
And there might be some golf stuff there for Ollie.
True,
I can see at
true.
the back. So we'll be very happy. But it's time to do the hot seat brought to you by our friends at CoinSpot.
Now,
DOS.
CoinSpot is the best and easiest place to buy and trade all your cryptocurrencies.
All of them. And you can get your Bitcoin for as little as $1. How good's that? So download the app today and get trading.
Do we have the question?
Oh, that's a very good point.
I think
maybe
you've got the questions.
Yeah, maybe explain.
So, Ollie, you're well aware of the show Hot Seat. We've just a complete rip-off. We've taken it. We're doing a hot seat question, and the question is, which victory meant the most to you, Ollie? So, is it A, the 1995 Melbourne Cup win, B, your 2001 Cox Plate on Northerly, C, the 2002 Melbourne Cup, which we watched earlier with Media Puzzle, or D, your 2023 Golden Rush?
Ooh, I'd probably say the Media Puzzle one. I think it's the one I'm most recognised for. It's synonymous with my career, even though it was, like I said, not the one I enjoyed the most, or was the most difficult to one to enjoy, but certainly probably the most memorable. Yeah.
I love it. And then you won in your final race.
Yes, in Perth. My last ride, my last three winners, they all won actually.
It's pretty good.
Last three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous
Three must be your
and
number.
a race named after me, so that was pretty cool.
Well,
it was a bit of a drop mic sort of moment.
Yeah.
So it was a good way to finish.
Because you're... sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, and inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame as well. That was in 08.
Yeah, a long time ago now. Yeah.
Did they have a night for that? Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very humble, isn't he?
I know.
He's very, very humble. I was going to ask you. So your first win, was it a 70-1 roughly odds?
Yes.
Was that the highest? Did you ever ride a horse that had larger odds than that?
I do remember winning on a 100-1 shot at Flemington one
Wow.
time, and I probably rode a few others, but that kind of couple that stick out. Yeah.
Is there any difference between winning on a 100-1 versus a favourite?
Depends if someone's backed it, I suppose. You're going to win a lot more, aren't you?
Yeah, but does it feel sweeter when you win on an outsider?
Doesn't really bother me.
No.
I suppose there's more expectation to win on a shorter priced horse.
We're asking the question as the punter. Of course it matters more to us.
Well, it's like an upset in another sport. Yeah. But how do we bring in the gifts for Ollie?
This is the best bit.
The dos&d goodie bag. Start with that black bag, Charlie. The Milkman. Bring
Milkman
it in.
Australia, all things men's grooming, Ollie. So in there.
Lovely.
You've got the
you.
natural deodorant, some body wash.
Unzip that, Ollie. Let's see what's in there.
I
'cause
think my
like
son
to
will
look
probably pinch this off me.
Yeah, we'll keep that.
The toiletry bag comes
Knowing
in
how
handy
much
too.
he's in love with the mirror at the moment.
Is he? How old is your boy?
16.
Oh yeah, he's at the prime age for a bit of this stuff.
Yeah, he loves
Bit
it.
of deodorant, bit of muck for the hair.
Yeah, he'll be
bit of
all
body
over
wash.
this.
There's some
Yep.
cologne in there
I'm
for
sure
Ollie
he
as well.
stinks, so he might need the body wash.
Yeah.
Young fellas, you know.
Where do we pick up our milkman for Father's Day, Dos?
MilkmanAustralia.com. Use the code dos&d. 20% off at checkout.
Yes, absolutely. Let's bring in the next one. That bag will do, the Mitch Dowd. So this is courtesy of our friends at Mitch Dowd, which is the comfiest underwear, socks, and of course sleepwear on the market, isn't it, Dossie?
And your
beautiful.
jocks. David,
It's
did
a
you
me
say
or the
I,
jocks?
said
bride?
I used a different word. I used underwear.
Underwear, oh, yeah.
I tried to make it a bit
Lovely.
more probably gender neutral for the ladies out there because,
Oh,
of
they'll
course,
get a
Mitch
run
Dowd does
along. Thanks,
both.
guys.
No, no
Lovely.
worries. Well, they're known for their awesome prints.
The bold prints
Bold
on there,
prints.
so they've looked after you. I think there's some pajama pants in there. They'll look after you. Socks and jocks, mate.
Beautiful.
Perfect time for Father's Day. And of course, for the dos&d faithful, you can get 30% off for Father's Day using the code dos&d. That's 30%. That's quite a lot, Dos.
That's perfect for Father's Day.
I'd
And
get
last
3
but not
times the
least,
amount.
we've got something to get Ollie refreshed. So these are Tommy's. These
Definitely keep this away from your son.
maybe yeah. Oh no, he's not of age yet. But
Maybe this one for the daughter. She'll like that.
There you go. Yeah.
yeah, raspberry spritz. You like these? Don't you?
I love them. I think I said on the last pod I had a couple too many on the weekend, but they go down a treat. They're made from our Italian brothers at Tommy's. They're based on Chapel Street. So we say big thank you to
You
them.
can buy your Tommy's as well, all different flavours at your local Dan Murphy's or BWS.
Yeah, so of course online, and if you go online, you get the code. So dos&d, 15% off. We'll put the code below.
We're throwing out discount codes like
Oh, well,
like
it's
anything,
Father's
aren't
Day.
we?
We're giving,
Yeah.
aren't we? And then
Yeah.
off air, Ollie, we've got some golf stuff for you. So we've got some balls for you to hopefully not lose and some hat and some more apparel. So we'll give that to you off air. But it's just our little way of saying thank you.
I know you don't like talking about yourself, but we appreciate you coming in and having a chat, mate. We've been looking forward to it for a while. You know, you're the top of the racing tree, mate. So to have someone like yourself to come in, give us your time, we greatly appreciate it.
True honour.
Thanks,
you, Ollie.
guys. Thanks for looking after us.
No worries.
Appreciate it.